too. So, excuse me. Let's get right into it. So, I saw where the Asians, some Asians, I don't know, the Indian, East Asians, Asians, or Chinese Asians, etc. They decided to go after the um, part of the Civil Rights Act, which was affirmative action in colleges, and that it needed to be gotten rid of because it was discriminatory towards them. Right? You know, there's something. I mean, I don't understand how 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 black people as a whole don't see it, right? But it's extremely problematic when you have people that use the Civil Rights Act that the American descendants of slavery, so-called black people, fought for, and they had implemented, right, different parts, like, and I don't even really care about affirmative action, but it's just like, if we got it, then I wouldn't want anybody taking it away. Maybe it needs to be worked upon, and it should only be for descendants of slaves. It shouldn't be for Asians, white women, homosexuals, or anybody other groups. Anyway, it shouldn't be for you. That's number one, right? It shouldn't even be for you. You should have nothing to do with affirmative action. It should have been set aside for descendants of slavery. That said, so black people, for to overall help anybody that was different, from the white, dominant, class that was in the United States. And so what happened was, these people then, on the backs of black people, right, and what they did for the civil rights acts, and brought in under that these programs, they come to America, and then they say, well, on the backs of the Civil Rights Act, and then start dismantling parts of the Civil Rights Acts. That's amazing, right? And you had to say, wait a minute, wait. So you came to this country on the back of the Civil Rights Act, and once you got here, you decided that you wanted to go after black people in the Civil Rights Act. See, that comes from a deep rooted hatred, right, of people to do something real. That's like, that's kind of like, like backstab or treasonous comes to mind, right? So a group of people that helped you, right, indirectly, you come here using the tools that they put in place to get your ass here, to get your nasty ass, into the United States, and then you turn around and start dismantling parts of the Civil Rights Act, right? That's a nasty motherfucker, right? I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it, right? Like, you know, backstabbing, treasonous, double dealing. Like, I mean, I don't know whatever words would describe it. I mean, how else can you? I mean, how else would you describe it, right? Somebody that takes advantage of people like that, and then screams that they're being mistreated. But you riding on the backs of black people all the way to the top. How is it that black people mistreating you? And then they turn around and go after affirmative action, right? And say, basically black students are, somehow, you know, creating a problem for them. It's an impediment for them with this affirmative action stuff. But you wouldn't even be in the country if it wasn't for black people, for the most part, all right? And you damn sure wouldn't have the ability to go after black people in America. You see, black people kind of fucked they so. I mean, I guess in a way they fucked over by their own innate goodness, right? So you was trying to do something good to improve America, but then you open the door for a bunch of people who don't like you to come into America and start fucking you over, right? To start taking a dump on you. So it's a double-edged sword, right? That's a problem. Now it's a problem, right? It goes back to what Dr. King said. He said, I fear I have integrated my people into a burning house. You see, this is the burning house that he was talking about. Matter of fact, let me pull it up real quick. I won't make this too long, but let me bring it up. So this is what Dr. King was talking about when he told Harry Belafonte, who just recently died, rest in peace. He said, I fear I've integrated my people into a burning house. He said, well, Dr. King is crazy. What could he be talking about? America can't burn. What you mean, Dr. King? What you mean, black people, he made a mistake, right? What you mean you made a mistake and you integrated black people into a burning house? America is too great. America can't burn, Dr. King. Well, Paris is burning right now. I don't know if people have noticed, but Paris is burning. Matter of fact, that might be appropriate to bring that up. So here we have a few stories from France, right? Mayor's home on fire, right? We have the mayor's home on fire after Paris rioters crash car, injure wife and children, right? They got zoo animals running down the street, gorillas, orangutans on roofs, lions running down the zebras running down the middle of the street in Paris, in France. Eight, you see the headline, why is France on fire? Dr. King told you. He said, I fear I'm integrating my people into a burning house. This is the burning house. You see? America is no different from France. It's no different. Right? It's the same thing. Right? You created an unorganic situation. You broke the organic genetic map of the planet where you colonized and killed and raped and pillaged and transported people all over the planet, bombed people's country, created refugees, right? That's what Dr. King was talking about. And in the end, it would just all burn up, right? Like France, you see. That's what's going on in France right now, right? The mayor's home is on fire, right? His wife and children running for their life. Why is France, see the story at the bottom, why is France on fire? Well, Martin Luther King told you why France was going to be on fire before he died. Before these people, white people, killed him, right? They ordered the death of Martin Luther King, you see. He said, I'm integrating people into a burning house. What could you mean, Dr. King? Paris can't burn. Oh, yes, it can, obviously. America can't burn. Oh, yes, it can, and it will, you see. But not by the hands of rioting black people. That's the difference, you see. More likely, nuclear fire, you see. America is cursed, you see. And so everybody comes here, right, on the backs of black people, and they start telling you how to be black, how to be, what you need to do. Oh, you got Indians, Kamala Harris, this guy Vivek, this Indian running for president, right? You got, white people, you got these Spanish people. I had this Hispanic chick, and we went out on a date. She said some shit to me about black people see racism everywhere, you know. And I was thinking to myself, if I what I'm saying, I want to bang this chick, so I'm gonna let that slide. You see, But then you start realizing these are this that's some anti-black shit to say, right? So these people, they all pretty hostile. You see, some of them even try to fuck you, but at the same time they hostile toward black people, right? Like the slavers, like the master on the plantation, right? Thomas Jefferson comes to mind, right? They don't have no respect for what your grandparents went through, what you went through, what you going through on a daily basis, right? Which I go through it all the time, you know. My grandmother lived under Jim Crow all her life. She told me one day, she's still alive. She said, it don't seem like that much has changed. She's like 93 years old. And it hasn't. So Dr. King was right. You know what I mean? And then now, right, you got these Asians come here to America telling you how to be black, ordering you around, going after, going after affirmative action and breaking down the civil rights movement little by little. After they come here on the backs of the civil rights movement and black people, you see, the African, the Indian, the Asian. That's what Martin Luther King was talking. This is what he was talking about when he said, "I integrated my people into a burning house." You see, he's talking about the Paris riots. Why is Paris on fire? Mayor's home on fire. He's talking about the hostile Asians that he knew was coming here to America. The anti-black Asians and the anti-black Hispanics, right? Talking about black people see racism everywhere where it don't exist, right? I had another Hispanic woman say to me on a date. She said, she said, I don't see why black people need black-owned restaurants. Everybody else got restaurants. I mean, just ignorant shit. I'm thinking to myself, it's Indian restaurants, it's Italian restaurants. Why are you railing against people putting up a sign black-owned restaurant or black-owned business? You know what I mean? Like they all come here. Mind you, I believe she had a mulatto kid, or the dude she was dating had a kid, but I was mulatto, or something like that. And I've told the story about the people that kidnapped my son and called me a nigger. His Hispanics, right? So America has a problem that's gonna have to be dealt with soon. It's gonna be dealt with soon. You see? You know what I mean? You can't. You know, I was talking to Lucas about this on the Amazing Lucas show podcast. I like Lucas. You see, you wasn't never supposed to mix in with people like this. It's against God. It's against the law. It's against the rules. That's why you can't never get along with them. That's why you said affirmative action divided Asians, Americans from other people of color. My question would be, when was they with you? If Asians from China and Japan, Philippines, fill in the blanks, was with black people in America, right? When was they with black people? In 1964 during the Civil Rights Act? I'm just trying to figure this shit out. Help me get this shit straight when you write a dumbass article like this. How affirmative action divided Asian Americans and other people of color. Here's how. They was never with black people. White people was never with black people. Indian from India was never with black people. Some of the Indians in America was. Some of them was slavers too. Some black people was too. Right? But I mean, just right now, that Asians was never with black people. White people was never with black people. White people didn't support. White people was against integration by like 95% in America when the Civil Rights Act was passed. When this shit got passed, this shit got passed by the political class who went against their constituency. In case you don't know that, motherfucker. The political class did did that. Of Lyndon B. Johnson, a very racist white man. Why? He was kicking the can down the road because he was trying to stop basically the second part of the Civil War from taking place. Right? He was trying to stop, you know, ethnic cleansing, scaring black people to the point where they would, panic and start to shoot back en masse. You see, and now you got Civil War Part Two in your hands. So Lyndon B. Johnson and the white political power structure said, "Look, let's just, roll this shit back a little bit. Try to, get people to back up off these Negroes for a minute before they, cause a bigger problem. We don't want that. We don't need that internal conflict right now. Of millions of Negroes, scared to death, taking up arms, because they don't want to get ethnic cleansed. You know, we got, open warfare. So let's just pass the Civil Rights Act. Let's have some of the, military law enforcement force them to, the people, the citizenry, to back up off of these people in these groups like the KKK, these, super radical white groups who just represented most of the people in the United States. Like we need to tamp that down before they force something to happen. So that's what that was about. You see, the rank and file white people was against desegregation. Stupid. So if that's the case, what made you think in 70 years since then all racism disappeared if 95% of white people was against desegregation? Stupid. That's why when these immigrants come here talking shit, I miss me with that. I'm not trying to hear none of that shit. Y'all talking. You have no idea what the fuck you talking about. At all. But you're going to find out the hard way. You're going to get a American education. You're going to get a soul education. Matter of fact. They say how is these people, Asians, how it divided them from black people. They was never with black people. Asians are not with black people in America. They are not allies to black people in America. Maybe somewhere else, I don't know, but not here. They're not political allies, social political allies for blacks. Nobody is. Not even black immigrants. You see? That's Bible prophecy though. It said you would be surrounded by, I believe it said you'd be surrounded by your enemies. I may pull that up in a second. But these are hostile people. Right? I don't care fuck how cool they act on a job or whatever. You know what I mean? If a couple of them, somebody slept with somebody or whatever. These are hostile groups. You see? And when they come here to America, they absorb that hostility, that anti-black hostility. You see? That's what Dr. Martin Luther King meant when he said, "I'm integrating my people into a burning house." You see, because eventually it's gonna bubble to the surface, just like with the affirmative action shit. Because black people is watching that. Black people's they're gonna figure out what's going on, what they did, and they know that it ain't had nothing to do with the shit they saying it had to do with. They know it was just basically Asians launching an attack on black people for white people. You know what I mean? America is a sick place, and everybody that come here catch the disease, you know, of like anti-blackness at a certain level. You see, and they always crouching it in justice, or they just trying to get equality and justice. Guarantee you, these people are dismantling parts of the civil rights movement. If you say, "Hey, do you support reparations?" all Asians would be probably against it. While at the same time dismantling parts of the civil rights movement. These are hostile people, man. These are hostile anti-black groups. Dangerous. That shit they doing is dangerous. You see? Because the question is, when they finish doing that, what are they going to do for a follow-up? You know what I mean? Like, when they can't get at you in the courts, when they finish dismantling everything in the courts, then what are they going to do? You see? For a follow-up. This is just one way of them kind of punching you in the face. And when they done did everything they can do, and they have exhausted all of their legal ways of slapping you around, then they're gonna want to physically slap you around. You see? I mean, that's basically what it's gonna lead to. You know, that's what Dr. King was talking about when he said, "I fear I've integrated my people into a burning house." You're integrated with a bunch of very hostile whites, Asians, Hispanics, you know, Indians from India, fill in the blanks. It's a rainbow coalition of anti-black hate, right? All types of white Nazis, right? Mexican Nazis. I mean, La Raza, all this bullshit, right? How is anything good going to come of any of that? Dr. King realized that 70 years ago. He was warning you. He was warning you it wasn't going to work. And then when you see what happened with affirmative action this week, well, was he right or was he right? He was right, right? He was right. I mean, when you right, you right. He was 100% correct. The Asians proved it. You see? I mean, and they are good. They're just a bunch of Asian Nazis. You see? You have to understand what you're dealing with. These are just a bunch of Asian Nazis. Just like during Japan, where the Japanese not Asians sided with Hitler. I know you Negroes don't study history, but you better. But you get ready to get a direct history lesson. And you wonder why they went after black people in affirmative action. While using using the civil rights movement to come into America. Right? Because if it wasn't that, they would have just turned their asses around and said, "Fuck y'all, you can't come in America." But because of the Civil Rights Act and things like that, it gave people more freedom of movement into the United States. You see? But it's not a good thing for you. Like, diversity, and this proves another thing. Diversity and integration doesn't work for black people. I mean, if it did, you wouldn't have Asian Americans attacking the Civil Rights Act of 1964, basically, right? I mean, if diversity and integration was working for black people, and it was good for black people, and all these people that came here as your friend and your ally, and they helping out, they helping, they down with, for the cause or whatever it is, right? Then they wouldn't be trying to dismantle parts of the Civil Rights Acts. You see, they wouldn't be doing that. So integration and diversity is a failure for black people, right? It's only something that's going to probably lead to ethnic cleansing. You know, some type of bad, as you can see, some type of bad result. It's not going to be a positive. And the fucked up part about, I'm going to say this and I'm going to go. The fucked up part about this is, I believe the most people that benefit from affirmative action was white women. White women shouldn't even be allowed in affirmative action. So they should have fixed affirmative action, not gotten rid of it. Affirmative action should only been for American descendants of slavery, not white women and Chinese people or anybody else. You see, it doesn't even help. It wasn't even helping African immigrants, and I think white women were the biggest beneficiary of affirmative action, and some Asians went after it to destroy it. Just because they said, "Oh, we're being, cut out," and it wasn't even true. But they did it anyway. You see, I mean, so it's a dilemma. Like when that kind of thing is happening, you've lost all political capital in the country. Like black people have no more political capital in the United States. They're zombies. They're walking dead basically in the United States. To be honest, they're walking dead in politics. You see, and people know that. That's why when they come here to the United States, they just take advantage of you. They just step on you because they know socially and politically you're the walking dead. You're a bunch of zombies. You have no political power, no political capital, right? You are in a. They're just throwing gas on the fire and burning the house down, helping burn it, setting it up to burn down. Cause don't you know, black people ain't gonna forget this. Even people like me, I don't give a damn about affirmative action. But you think I'm gonna forget what they did? Not at all. You see, you think I'm gonna just be like, oh well, a bunch of Asians went after part of the Civil Rights Acts, right? That's cool. No, that's not cool. But okay, you know what I mean? You have to look at it like, okay, just mark that down and understand like the people that you're dealing with. They're not your friends, and you have no political capital. You have no political allies. Not even your whole the whole black political structure was sold out in the United States after Dr. King. So black people are basically a zombie bottom caste in the United States at this point, and it's every man for himself, right? I mean, I'm just describing a situation that Dr. King predicted was going to happen. Well, it happened. See, so I'm gonna wrap that up. But he was right. It's a burning house, and the house will burn down. You know, it's no question that Dr. King he's gonna be found not to be